Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot and welcome to today's reading. So, today's reading is going to be Divine Masculine Messages. Yesterday, we did that soulmate snapshot where we took a look at how your person felt after your last communication. And, in some cases, it was something that has happened before where the last couple times the two of you have communicated, it has felt like they were trying to run. There's a lot of a need to hide in this energy. There's a lot of a need to get away, but then when they get away, they think they have these positive memories of the two of you together, a lot of this magnetism that wants to bring them back. I think it's time for us to do a divine masculine messages reading. And so it's gonna be part of this. It'll be for the collective. It'll be a general reading as usual, but it feels like we've been kind of telling a story as these readings have been going. So this is kind of the let's go ahead and pause to get those divine masculine messages while we're at this portion of the story. So if this resonates with you, which of course we know it will not and should not resonate with everyone, but if it resonates with you, then you may want to take a look at some of the messages that came before, and you may want to subscribe so that you can see what is heading your direction coming forward and the energy that's happening there. I think we will use this as the main deck, and we're going to start with the general energy around your person. So this is general energy around them. It is going to be influenced by that energetic and emotional backdrop, which is oftentimes what we get in this position. But since this is so very much about them and messages that come from them, let's use as that perspective the energy that's around them right now. So we've got the Death card in the reverse. They are trying not to allow something to happen. They're trying to put something off. They don't feel like they have a choice about it. We've got the Lovers card in the reverse here that feels like not having a choice about something that's happening in a romantic setting. We also have the Hierophant. They're being given feedback or given information that they don't feel like they can act on. So they feel like this is interesting energy. They feel like they're being drawn in a couple directions. So this is a person who, as we know, has gotten themselves embroiled in a situation that looked like on paper what they thought they wanted, but they ultimately end up unhappy with it. They have ended up unhappy with it, and now with this, they're being kind of told to take it a step farther. And it's a step farther in the direction that they now know they don't really want to go, the direction that they would rather go. They don't feel like they have as many choices about, and here's where the Lovers card in the reverse comes in. With the Death card in the reverse, we see them avoiding a change, and the change, it feels like it's very much balanced between the two of these energies. But not necessarily that none of the options seem viable to them, basically. It's not so much of a sense of avoidance of change as it is, I cannot determine a road forward in this energy. That is the sort of impasse where your person finds themselves right now. So this is pretty personal. This is going to be something that even if they wanted to talk to you about this, they would have a hard time doing it. And here's a person who's not feeling especially vulnerable. And even though maybe they've shown you that vulnerable side from time to time, they're having a hard time showing it now. So we got the King of Pentacles that's come out here for this. So what's happening here is maybe a little some pressure. It's indicative of, it's similar to pressure that they've felt before, okay? And the last time they felt that pressure, they kind of freaked out. They ran the other direction. They didn't know what to do. They swept it under the carpet as much as possible and just tried it as hard as they could not to deal with certain things or to deal with as little as possible. Here, some change has happened with them, so we know there has been some change, and they have had kind of a long way to come back from. So they've been working through this change slowly, and we've seen that in the previous readings. You can see that just in the names of the previous readings, but the concepts are there, and the cool thing about it is they are advancing forward even though you see them trying to resist a change. Mostly they're trying not to go forward because they can't picture any of the directions. being options. And yet they've got this pressure in there to make them move forward. They've got this Ace of Wands, which is, it's passion, but it's really uncomfortable because it pushes them. And they're much more, I will say they're much more aware of their circumstances than they were when things first started. When they had this soul recognition with you, they hadn't made the connections that they now have. And even so, with things, they still feel so confused about a lot of things. So that's part of why we see this is a Knight of Wands, and this feels like a little bit of an unstable Knight of Wands. So there's a lot of this passion, but there's a lot of this fear of change also. And of course, being drawn in two different directions. The direction of your passion and the direction of something that feels more like a responsibility or something that they are expected to do. They feel like they have the weight of expectation upon them, and that they would be disappointing people not to continue in a certain direction, whether it's continuing with a job. In some cases, it's going to be taking a promotion. And this impacts you because of the impact it causes to your working situation because you work together. In other cases, this is about someone who would like to walk away from a spouse or a living situation and understands that their family would never understand. We've got the Four of Swords here in the reverse that says even if their family did understand, they're still not really ready. There's something about, so this is the Four of Swords in reverse that talks about a lack of healing, and a lack of having taken the time to really bring themselves together to go back far enough to do the mending of their soul that they need to do. The way this manifests almost feels like a Four of Wands in reverse, though, where it would be a little bit of, I am afraid to give up the stability that I have in the known, and so afraid to walk away from something. I feel like messages are already coming out. And of course, with these messages, sometimes they feel like they want them to self-destruct after you see them. These are like the divine masculine self-destruct messages, so that they could tell you what they want to tell you, but not have to deal with the repercussions of having said these things. And that really kind of feels like the nature of this information. So whether they could put it into words or not, which I feel like a lot of times they wouldn't be able to put it into words, they're getting better at it. I would also say they're getting better at it. But even if they could put it into words, this is something they kind of wouldn't want to say because they wouldn't want to have it hanging between you. Here we have the Hermit, though. The Hermit says this is exactly the feeling that comes to mind when I say they're getting better at it. So they're getting better at understanding themselves, where you may have a pretty good ability to take your internal temperature. And this is a person who is good at taking an external temperature, good at figuring out how to maneuver among other people, how to manipulate situations containing other people. But this is them figuring out how to maybe understand a little bit more of what's inside their own mind, and what's happening in their own world, which is a whole new world to them, honestly. I mean, even if they feel like they've spent some time there, they are having a new experience with it now. So this is someone who's kind of, I can't stress enough, like what this King of Pentacles over here was saying, this is not the same person that walked away from you in the first place. Or even the last time they walked away, something has shifted. We have a Page of Swords here in the upright. This is an ability to, it's got a brand new day sort of vibe to it. And it's like everything that was in a minor key just goes into a major key with this Page of Swords. It means well. It's a beautiful day. The weather is perfect. It's that kind of feeling. And it's coming from your person as a result. It's like it's coming out despite all of this challenge. They've still got this brand new day energy in them that I feel like comes from that Ace of Wands energy, where that passion is just kind of bubbling up. You have the Eight of Cups here that says they still have a lot of work to do as far as finding what it is that's going to make them happy. They have some things to work out. One of you had asked, and I've received a lot of notes, and I'm just going to kind of paraphrase this one because I don't want to get too specific, but basically it was, hey, is this a love or is it passion? What is this? I understand the nature of the relationship is to learn, but like, what is this? And this is, I would say it's interesting because they have the potential for it to be both, but at this point it feels like it's more passion, more of that Ace of Wands energy, more of that Knight of Wands energy that we saw come out. The Eight of Cups would say that things still haven't been unraveled to the point where they understand um, how to open things up to allow it to be love. So that would just, it's not a huge step. I mean, it's a huge step, but it's not a huge adjustment. Basically, it's opening themselves up. This brand new day sort of energy allows them, it almost feels like the Fool energy. And it feels a little like springtime, but it opens them up a little bit to new experiences, to where they might be able to access some of the healing that they need under that energy. So that's very refreshing. Let's see, we've got the Seven of Cups and the Ten of Swords that have come out. So I mentioned not having gone far enough back to resolve some things. This is the feeling coming from that Ten of Swords. There's some sort of, I've often called it ancient pain that comes out with sometimes along with this Ten of Swords. And here it's coming out again. With the Seven of Cups, you know, we talked about them not knowing how to move down the road. This is kind of a reiteration of that, only it's a lot of fear that's associated with it, and it's fear that we don't always get from the Seven of Cups. So they are sitting here resisting a change, not because they're lazy or because they're necessarily even being avoidant, even though they may also be feeling quite avoidant. They have a history of running into more of an avoidant behavior, but this is, they're getting pushed to move farther into a direction they already know they kind of don't want to go, and they're feeling like they can't move the direction that they want to, and that there's not even a good way to communicate this. I feel like with this Four of Swords in the reverse and with this Ten of Swords in the upright, there's not a good way to communicate this. They feel like they don't have anyone to talk to, aren't sure what they'd say if they did. There's a definite feeling of they aren't even sure how to articulate this. That feels like a message, another one of the divine messages that, or divine masculine messages that wants to come out. So we're going to launch into the divine masculine messages again. But one of the things that I have like reverberating in my mind at this point is that, you know, you guys who have been with me for a little while know that there is a divine masculine that reached out and said, I am one of the minority who is a divine masculine who is watching this. I'm pretty sure that the person you're talking about is me. The person who has run away is me. And I don't feel like I can go back yet, but I feel like it helps to watch this channel, essentially. So we struck up a little bit of a conversation. And one of the things that he said, he allowed me to use his words at one point, and one of the messages that he wanted to get out to the collective was, you know, that I'm as confused as you are, is what he said, you know, and I remember that hitting me really hard, and several of you have quoted him in your emails, and I don't remember the whole quote at this point, but I remember the I'm as confused as you are part being kind of a big deal, and it's reverberating in my mind at this point. You make them happy. They remember a time of happiness that is just like almost like the most beautiful lighting you can even think about. The most beautiful memory. There's a nostalgic sadness to it, because they don't think they can regain it. Like we saw, I can't remember if it was yesterday or in the reading the day before, but we saw them wanting to regain something from the past, a feeling from the past. They wish they could go back to a feeling, to a time in the past, and they don't feel like they can do that. So that's where the sadness comes in with this. It's like a time that can't be recaptured, but it's a time of incredible happiness that frankly they had forgotten could possibly exist, and they had surprised themselves with it. So I feel like there's a Four of Cups in the reverse kind of energy out with this, because of how surprised, and with that element of being surprised by what they found with you. Okay, so we have the Knight of Mirrors. Mirrors is water energy, so that's like Knight of Cups in the reverse. They don't feel like they can talk. They don't feel like they can communicate. King of Scrolls in the upright, feeling like so that's wind, air energy. It's like the King of Swords in the upright. And it is, this one is, I understand that I need to look at the big picture, but I'm afraid to do that because I'm afraid of what I'll find. It's more of that energy of not knowing which way to go, being confused about that, not wanting to allow a change to come in because neither of the changes looks tenable. And they're saying, you know, they're afraid to even, one of the reasons they don't understand and haven't truly analyzed this, because they've got a, with this King of Scrolls says they have the capacity to analyze this and to look at the situation and say, here's what makes sense. Here's maybe what doesn't make sense, but they don't even want to. Like, they don't feel like looking at it because they're afraid of, they don't want their emotions to go farther downhill. They're trying to make them go uphill. They're trying to find balance. This is all stuff they wish you knew, but also wish that they didn't have to live with you knowing. Finding this happiness is something that I think is just so important. And regaining this happiness feels like it's something that's just so important. And this King of Scrolls, just a really intense feeling of avoiding. There's that sense of avoidance again, avoidance of looking at the whole truth because it's too confusing and seems like it would be more of what they don't especially want to see or experience. So let's see what else comes out for that. All right, we've got the Queen of Pentacles in reverse. Queen of Pentacles in reverse, which is basically, this has that feeling of not being sure of yourself. It's a lack of self-worth. Like, that's what wants to come out with it, but it's not just the lack of self-worth. It's the, I'm not sure of myself. I'm feeling a little discombobulated today, and I actually know I've got this, but I don't know how to shift back into, like, they can't get their mojo back. They can't figure out how to shift back into a place where they understand, like, where they can feel balanced, and they feel like it's within their grasp. In a lot of cases they feel like they've done the work to get there, and I feel like in some cases maybe there's more work left to do. All right, so we got the Knight of Pentacles also in the reverse. This is, sometimes they feel like, and this is something they wish they could express to you, if not say, sometimes they feel like they are gung-ho to move forward and really just coming up with ideas right and left, and then other times they feel like you would not want to deal with them right now, and that they are doing you a favor by keeping themselves separate from you. And that feels very heartfelt and like a depression, sort of kind of shielding you from a depression. Some of them deal with chronic depression and anxiety and haven't given you the full scope of that. Some of them have. And I just feel like that's kind of almost protecting you from them. But again, it's one of those things that it's like self-destruct messages. We did a reading on those one time, and I feel like this is what it is again. That it's like those messages they wish they could give you, and then they would just self-destruct, and you would forget it. It would also fall out of your mind, but you know, somehow they would have had the satisfaction of having said it. They're aware that they haven't treated you correctly, that they haven't treated you equally, and they aren't quite sure how to get around that. They aren't quite sure how to get past it. They are constantly thinking about the past. We saw that before, that nostalgia. It's a little bit of sadness and a little bit of not knowing how to handle it or what to do next. They feel like this is unfinished business. I'm not seeing the world up in the reverse come out just yet. I could just as easily imagine it coming out in the upright, though, because of the way that this feels with that sun in particular and the Six of Cups. This is somebody who really has a lot of feeling for you and is sublimating an amazing amount. So this Ace of Wands, where it's bubbling up, the emotion is bubbling up, this is in no way surprising based on what they put in there. But it's under so much pressure. It's like if it was coal, it would have formed a diamond by now. And you got to wonder what this is, because this Page of Swords is kind of that energy that's bubbling up, and that feels like a whole new world. So maybe it has forged a little bit of coal into a diamond, but it's difficult to say until you get a look at it. So you got the Queen of Swords in the reverse. Here is someone who says, they're not as, how can I put this? They're not as definite or as conclusive in their thinking as they may have led you to believe. There is still, again, unfinished business, that sense of unfinished business. Ten of Cups here says they made a mistake when they reacted to you. So this is not responded. This is reacted. They made a mistake when they reacted to you. They wish they could do it all over again, because they would have maintained more of this positivity and let less of that fall away. They feel like they made some mistakes in the way that they dealt with you. We see that throughout. And then we also see that they are not yet concluded as to how they would go forward. And that's part of the reason that you see so little engagement in the 3D from them. That engagement on the spiritual side is fairly constant, though. If you're looking for it, you'll see it. If you are able to pick up on that sort of energy, you're likely to feel them around so much that you forget that it will feel strange when they're not there, or you'll notice it rather when it's not, when their energy is not there. So we have the Four of Wands. We also have the Six of Wands in the reverse, both of them in the reverse. The Four of Wands, kind of about the same thing that was coming out earlier when that Four of Swords came out, and I said it felt a little bit like it had a Four of Wands with it. This is that. This is that Four of Wands in reverse that says they're afraid to leave the comfort of what they know to jump into something that they don't know that they can control. They don't feel like they have choices around, and they're being pushed and maybe even pulled in another direction. The Six of Wands in the reverse says that this is something that doesn't feel like it is going to resolve quickly, and so they understand if you can't tolerate that, but they understand that maybe you can't tolerate that. It's like they know that it seems like it's taking a long time, and they don't have resolution. Seven of Pentacles in the reverse. They have not properly invested. It feels like that Six of Pentacles up there. They have not properly invested in this relationship, in this energy, in things to do with you, and they know this. It's not a comfortable position, or something, again, not a comfortable admission, not something they even want to talk about. But it is definitely, it's something that haunts them, and they do want to talk to you. Again, they would feel amazing if they could tell you all this. And more, they would love to be able to tell you this and more, and be able to just freely be vulnerable and explain that, but they haven't figured out how to do that yet. You make them feel like a key goes into a lock, and they're able to feel a little bit more of that vulnerability. But for whatever reason, it seems like it's stopped working, and somebody has changed the pins in there, or something has shifted. It's gotten rusty. Something has to be fixed. There's definitely a desire to do that. They don't feel like it's done, or that they could move forward. They know that they can't move forward without resolving some things, because they can feel it not going away. This is not, I mean, they've tried to walk away. They've tried to not face it, and it doesn't seem like this is possible for them. So I mentioned that they would love to be able to tell you this and more. So we're going to go into the extended. We're going to look at the and more. What else? We'll just invite some more messages to come through, and that's where we're going to start. I'm not going to make any assumptions about the trajectory of that reading, because that is the way the meditation feels right now. So I will tell you guys, I jumped into a meditation shortly before I started doing this reading, and I feel like I've never truly come out of it. So I almost feel like it's a lot of it is being directly channeled, even just the words that want to come out. So anyway, we're just going to take it directly into the extended, with kind of an extension of what other messages would they want to provide? What other messages would they want to tell you, even if those messages self-destruct? They just wanted the opportunity to say some of these things. But before we do, we'll look into area of focus for you. So this is always that last area is going to be about you and your own healing. One of the areas of focus is, so that's the Queen of Spirals in the reverse, Queen of Wands in the reverse. This is all about, realize that down the road you're going to answer to yourself, if nothing else, for anything that you do at this time. Hold your head high, walk the high road, and make sure that you know why you're doing what you're doing, so that you can be pleased with yourself and your responses, even if you were sitting there in a no-win situation trying to figure out which way to go. You walked the highest of the high roads, or at least the highest of the high roads of which you were capable of accessing. Okay, so couple of things. One is that reminder that you will live with your actions. So just be prepared to understand why you're doing what you're doing. Not necessarily giving you guidance about here's what you should or shouldn't do, just about make sure you understand why you're doing it so that you can answer for yourself and feel good about it. With the Emperor, it's about walking that high road, though. It really is about manifesting and exhibiting. Balanced masculine energy. So this is divine masculine energy that protects its surroundings. It doesn't matter if you're male or female or how you are, how what your gender looks like. It's all about the Emperor is masculine energy that exists within everybody. So you have the Emperor and the Empress kind of looking like yin and yang there within everyone, and this is the masculine side of that. So it feels like a very providing for making sure you feel provided for within the self, more of a focus on that inner child work. I see that for you, I see that for them. I've been feeling it for a few days and about going back to go back farther to where the trouble truly began, because what you have accessed may be useful, but not the whole story. You may be ignoring a swath of the healing that still needs to be recognized. In fact, it feels like with this that's what's going on. With the Ten of Mirrors, though, you get another opportunity to respond to something coming in to see you or coming into you that it almost seems like it's too good to be true. And with this balanced Emperor energy, you're going to be prepared to evaluate it and not immediately write it off as something you don't deserve. With the Queen of Spirals, that's even more evaluation energy and discernment. That's a discernment sort of energy. Let's see what else wants to come out with that. This is cool. This is cool because they're basically, this is not 101 level stuff because you have already crossed the 101 level. You're now moving into some more challenging types of lessons, and it's cool to watch from over here because I've gotten to see the improvement as you've gone. I get to see the setbacks, and those are always tough. But I also get to see when you move forward in those big steps that you've been taking lately. Queen of Cups, this is about continuing to operate in love. So when you pick that high road, make sure that you might be wondering, well, how do I identify the high road? And it's going to be partially about there's a gut feeling to it that has to do with, are you doing something that is appropriate and kind and the best of the options that you know truly in your heart of hearts. And it's where that heart comes through. So it's the heart chakra, it's where it's the seat of emotion. It's the part that you can use to gut check and heart check when you're ready to move forward with something and you have some different options and different nuances to the way you can do things. Three of Pentacles says that as you move, you'll notice that things become more harmonious with you as you start doing this movement on the high road, whatever that means for you, because that's going to be as many different meanings as there are people watching. Seven of Swords in the reverse, more of the self-trust, but it's the brand of self-trust that comes from knowing that you're here for yourself to solve your own problems. And it's not the kind of, I'm here to solve my own problems because no one else will. It's not that. It's more, you're here to solve your own problems because you know you can depend on yourself. This is the result of that inner child healing. So this is what you're after with that. And you're moving in a direction where you're now tidying up spots that you haven't. And I know everyone's in different places on the timeline, but the way this feels, you're now tidying up spots that maybe you've worked at before, but haven't quite completely solved or resolved. And so this trust is what comes from that, and your focus can be on that. King of Swords, so what this person is afraid to do, where they are afraid to back up and look at the big picture because of what they might find, you're in a place where maybe you can. So you and your person are also not on the same place on the healing path. You're not on exactly the same healing path, although there's definitely some overlap, especially as we get into that fear of rejection, abandonment, betrayal, the big three. But this is somebody who's not prepared to really look at the big picture just yet, and you are. So we had a card fall, but it fell face down. Oh, let's see. That's the one. All right. We have the moon in reverse. Truth coming out, new information coming out, mysteries becoming resolved. You're going to find that you're ready to hit the ground running. Here's the Three of Wands. It's the feeling of hitting the ground running, but it's the feeling of realizing as you hit the ground running, oh my goodness, here is all this energy running with me. And I didn't realize I was going to have all this support. This is like, this is spiritual support running with you that is ready to reach out and help. Queen of Wands in the upright. This is the passion and the desire to make it cross the finish line. I mean, this is what pushes and fuels. This is the sort of energy that fuels you, but it has, it really, it rhymes with, listen to that. It kind of feels like this Page of Swords energy, this brand new day, but this is your version of it. And this is much more, so I'm not saying this to say that your person is really not socially or not emotionally intelligent. I'm just saying this is an incredibly emotionally intelligent version of this energy over here. So you've got the Page of Swords where they're coming out. They've got that energy bubbling up of a brand new day. You're over here like full out, you know, brand new day sort of energy. It's a grown-up version of it in a way. And I understand there may be, we've seen a lot of evidence of an age gap in here. And it doesn't matter which direction it is. This is purely emotional, and someone 10 years younger could be the one who's kind of in the driver's seat from that emotional standpoint. It really just kind of depends. With the Ace of Swords here, though, one of the things for you to remember is to always be kind of focusing on those truths that seem like they are particularly difficult to bring in and that strike fear into your heart. So I guess I'm reminded of a couple times here I have felt like I had to say that you will get some advice that you're not going to really like the sound of. And when that happens, you're being advised to look into it a little bit more deeply and figure out what it is about that you don't especially like, because it may be that is something especially important, or it contains a very important point for you if you're able to open your mind to it. So, I'm going to stop us here, and we're going to go into the extended and go more deeply into what the messages are that would come from this person. The messaging or the energy here it feels very wanting to be vulnerable. So I'm just going to kind of ride the wave, and that's where we'll start the extended. If you want to join me there, the link is down below in the video description. Otherwise, I will look forward to seeing you again in tomorrow's reading.